Welcome back to Cool Your Heels with Lillian on AM FM 247.com and Passionate World Radio Network, the world in your hands. And this morning, our special guest is Dina Shoman, who is going to tell us how to train girls to work with finances. Good morning, Dina. How are you?
Good morning. It's actually Dina. How are
Dina,
you?
Excuse me. Main names. I apologize.
It's okay. I'm the same.
So, what got you started in thinking that perhaps girls needed a little more help with finances than boys?
Sure. Well, my background is in banking. I'm from Jordan. I grew up in a banking family where my family was always talking about banking and financial matters. And as a child, that used to really bore me to tears. It's such a dry subject. I feel it's really hard to talk about it to kids in general. So I actually never thought I would grow up and end up in finance and banking myself, which I did, although it was so boring to me as a child. And after spending quite a few years in banking, we stepped down from that, and I wanted to start my own thing. Being really passionate about empowering women and girls and being brought up to be a strong believer in education, I wanted to start something earlier on. So something to focus on girls specifically and to get them more excited about finance and to learn financial capabilities and skills early on in a fun way, different than how I was raised. So there's a lot of statistics also out there that shows how girls don't get as much encouragement as boys when it comes to financial literacy and money matters. And from as early as about the age of 6, they start feeling less smart than boys when it comes to math and subjects that are related to that. So there we go. I created In Her Quest, which is my startup. And it basically creates fun financial education games that can be played at home with a parent for girls from as young as 5 years old.
That sounds terrific. You'll be happy to know that most of my granddaughters are in advanced math classes.
Oh, that's great.
They love math. We still are trying to figure out what the 5-year-old is up to outside of dinosaurs. However, so these are interactive games that you play, and what kind of games do they involve with math?
Yeah, sure. So not all the games are math related or even directly related to money. I found a set of standards which I really liked when I was doing my research. There's a bunch of them out there, but my favorite was the ones that were created by the National Financial Educators Council. They have their own financial literacy standards and framework. And why I chose those is because they go in details from kids as young as 4 years old, and they really specify the learning goals and outcomes for each age, which I felt was a great roadmap to use when we were developing our games as a curriculum. So then I found an educator who helped me create interactive and engaging games and activities. We used the experiential education model, which is basically like the child gets to do something and then reflect on it and then apply it to real life. So that way they can really learn it and the learning will last with them as they grow up to become adults. And of course, the fun aspect of it makes it more fun and engaging for them to do. So by blending those two types of learning models, we've created a bunch of games that arrange in the type of games. So we have things like books, drawing, creativity, pretend play, physical games where they actually move around, some related to math, of course, and directly with money, and many other types of games. We have some word games and card games. It's a great variety of different games in each box.
I hope you're also teaching them how to make change from $20, $50, even $100 or any dollars, for example, because I find that if they don't have a computer for a cash register, They do not have a clue on how to give you change, which I find very upsetting to me because I say, well, you add 5 cents to make it an even number or whatever it is going to make the even number. And then you start adding till you hit $1. Oh, and I'm going, my God, what are they teaching these kids at school these days?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's so difficult when they rely a lot on calculators and cash registers, as you mentioned. One of the most important things we try to do is to make money real for kids. We live in a time where we use credit cards and a lot of digital products and tools. So a lot of our games actually use play money that actually looks like real money. So they really involve using them to buy things in certain games. For example, we have a game where they get a budget of $20 and they can choose different recipes of meals that they would like to make. And then we have a bunch of food with how much they cost, and they go on their own venture to try to see how much each meal costs, and they use the actual money to pay for it. So they're using their play money and play coins to pay for it. And then we have another game, which is sort of like a card-based game, and it's sort of like how many ways can you come up with, whether it's like $15 or even $2 using different coins and bills. So it really helps them train those sort of skills and dealing with money, which in real life would be real money. To them, it looks real. To try to come up with these amounts. So yeah, it's a very important concept, which we also focus on, making money real for them.
Do you also teach them how to balance their checkbooks? Because eventually they will. And reconcile it with a lot of people use QuickBooks these days, whether it's for business or for personal. But even so, even though it's on the computer or in the cloud or wherever you're storing it, you still have to know basic addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication.
Yes, for sure. So our boxes and games are now focused on the age range of 5 through 8 or 9. So we work with whatever the standards are for those age groups. I can't recall seeing that specifically for that age group, but they're very much aligned with Common Core. So if it's with Common Core and these are skills that they would know at that age group, then we would be creating those games. So far, we only have 6 boxes that have been developed and illustrated and ready to be produced. As I think I mentioned to you previously that we have our Kickstarter campaign now with only a few days to go as of our interview date. But we have a bunch of other boxes still yet to be developed. I'm not really sure if that's one. I don't recall seeing that as part of that for that age group, but hopefully in time after these boxes are developed, our plans are to look at the older age groups and to come up with relevant products and games that would interest them when they become like grade 3 and older. And I'm sure that will come into play at some point.
Well, I got another idea for you. Sure. I know that one of the countries, I think it's either Switzerland or Sweden, has gone on a digital where everything, there's no money. It's a cashless society.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, I suspect the U.S. will follow suit as well. Mm-hmm. And if people cannot, and especially girls, since we outlive men 10 to 1 in this country, yep, they'll need to be able to take care of their own finances, especially taxes. And they're going to have to figure out how to keep their credits. I guess that's how they do it, or units of something, mm-hmm, so that they are mindful of how much they really have left in the bank to pay for their monthly expenses. Have you thought that far ahead?
Not that far ahead. Again, we've been focusing on the younger age groups. But I still, even if we do end up going to a cashless society, I really believe at such a young age, we still need to keep money real for kids. They're not going to understand what it is and what its value is if we jump directly into things like, just credit cards and apps and virtual payment methods. It's really important for them to know what it is and to experience, even if it's through play. especially at such a young age. Now, of course, as they grow older, moving more towards sophisticated, different ways of payments, and we're going into like cryptocurrency and whatnot. Of course, that can be introduced, but I'm a firm believer of keeping it real for kids
For simple,
early on.
I would think you would want to get together with Fisher Price because they have for toddlers things like food trucks,
Yep.
grocery carts, grocery stores, hardware stores, kid-friendly play objects like that, or if you could introduce a concept, because I know from experience, even with my own, when I was bringing him up, I started making his own choices as to how he wanted to spend money that grandparents gave him or an aunt or an uncle gave him. And I would explain in how many pennies that this really totaled, and then showed him what he could get for his different total of pennies. And you would probably not be surprised that sometimes the choices they make, like other folks, only more grown up, base it on their emotions and what they feel they need at the moment to make them feel better.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we start from the young age of 5 teaching, the differences of wants and needs through different games and activities through our boxes. And also in time also evolving that into prioritizing them and understanding how adults have different wants and needs than kids do. So yes, that is a very important concept to also introduce through our games and curriculums. And in terms of the Fisher Price and other toy companies like that, we have been, I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the fall toy preview in Dallas at the beginning of October of this year, and I met about, I think, 6 different toy companies to see different ways that we might be working together. So we're continuing the conversations, and there are many of them that are super interested in a subject like this, and also in ensuring that they create things that are educational for kids, and ones that focus on girls specifically as well.
I would think you would also initiate a conversation with a bank so kids can start learning to save their money, because my 5-year-old has a bank account, and he takes his pennies or nickels and dimes, whatever he can scrounge off the floor or through the cushions in the sofa, and he takes his trophies into the bank, and he watches very intently as they count it out. I make a show for him, which is fine. And
which is perfect, actually.
Yes.
That's how parents should be with their kids, in my opinion. Creating it and making it fun and engaging in such a way. That's how they get interested. That's great.
So what are your future plans from after they reach a certain age and as they start getting older? Because girls and math and girls and financial responsibility reaches all the way into adulthood, where a lot of women who have not been given the basic math skills have trouble with things that involve the estate of themselves or taking care of their parents, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super interested in continuing this journey of creating different things as I grow up, as I mentioned. From speaking with many parents from across the country and also interacting with many that I know myself, I've seen that when kids reach about 3rd grade or so, they start losing a bit interest in the physical product. So my product right now is a physical product, which I insisted on doing for such an early age. They get more interested in digital products and things like that. So I'm thinking of, with more research, of course, morphing it into a more blended learning model with some games and physical aspects, but also online. And as they grow up, some other topics that are really interesting to me to sort of figure out in terms of what products and services to offer is, entrepreneurship is a big thing in terms of like being creative and creating your own product or service and things like that. So that's one that I would love to focus on. And also job exploration. I feel like, with time we have a lot of different new jobs. with new technology, with new industries as well. Sort of a way to explore the different options in terms of their interests as well, and what it actually takes to be able to do that job or to land a job in a specific industry or company, and what that means, because we still have, like, unfortunately, like, the more artistic jobs are not as paid as well, and so the type of lifestyle would be affected, the types of choices they can make may be affected, maybe or maybe not, but generally that's just how it goes. The people who are more inclined to follow those types of industries, but there's so much that we can do with this, and also women in general, as they grow up, they're better at saving, I would say, if we would compare it with investing. So more on the investing side, and more information and informed decision making when it comes to investing in their lives, because saving alone is not enough, unless the interest rates go really bonkers in time, which would be great, but
I don't think that's going to happen immediately.
No, I don't think so either. So we really have to come up with different alternatives to grow our money. I mean, growing up, my dad has always said, it's really important to preserve the value of your money, given the inflation with time and things like that, but also to grow it. So it's not just enough to save it and make enough to, counteract the inflation aspect of things, but also to, that diversify investments and look into the types of investments that you would like to do and you're passionate about, and more importantly, also that you understand. Because a lot of people got into trouble over the years by investing in things they don't understand.
Yes, like in 2000, revisit that. But a lot of people get suckered in with the penny stock too.
Exactly.
And if they don't know, then I guess I was fortunate. My husband's father was a CPA, and he started trading his son, not his daughter, but his son. So by the time my husband was 9 or 10 years old, he was already venturing into the stock market and making little investments. Because Dad said, here, this is for you to start with. If you lose it, you've got to earn it back. But you should start learning how to do that.
Yeah.
So that's another great idea for you, too.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important for girls really to start learning this, because I know from my son's lament from many years ago, Mommy, the girls are dumbing themselves down now that they're in 6th and 7th grade.
Right, I know, and it actually starts earlier for some. It's just so sad.
It is. That's why I'm delighted my two newly 12-year-old granddaughters haven't chosen that path. They're very competitive, and they want to keep on doing what they love to do, and math happens to be one of the things they really love. But a lot of the girls opt for boys and conformism over really developing their intellect, which is too bad.
Yeah, it's very sad. No, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm also happy to hear how was it your husband who started learning?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's exactly what experiential education is to actually really experience it and learn from it versus just being lectured it. So
absolutely, sometimes you need to do to really make to understand what you're doing and to experience the loss of not doing it right and the elation of when you do.
Yeah.
So you have a better understanding.
Exactly, yeah.
So your launch is coming up. Why don't you tell people about your launch?
Sure. So we have been on Kickstarter now for almost a month. My campaign ends in about 3 days to basically try to sell pre-orders of the different boxes that are available currently for girls. And then immediately after, my website should be live if all things go well, which you never know in the technological world.
That's right. You don't, do you? Murphy's constantly plotting.
Yes. So then we will be able to purchase and pre-order different boxes as we continue to illustrate and produce more of them. So right now we have boxes that are focused on specific subjects and with a recommended age group for it, for each one. So for example, like ages 5 and 6, we have a box that's, an introduction to needs and wants, and it has 3 different games and activities that can be played at home with a parent that teaches those skills. And the nice thing is that even if the child is already familiar with the concepts, like, there's no harm in repeating it in a fun way just to make sure like the learning actually sticks as they grow up. So there's different games that teaches it in different ways, which is also really important for me as we developed it, to make sure that, like, let's say a child is not really crazy about writing, so there's like reading or physical activity or things like that can cater to their preferred way of learning. So yeah, the boxes will be available on inherquest.com for purchase, and more and more as we continue to design them.
Okay, so can you tell everybody where they can contact you, and if you have any other upcoming opportunities to help you get the word out about your new financial training for girls?
Sure. So my website is www.inherquest.com. That's with an S. And my email is basically Dina, Dina, @inherquest.com. And you can join our mailing list if you want to keep updated with the different products that we're creating. And also, we have pretty regular blog posts on different topics that are really great for kids, girls and boys, and not just in this age group. We really go even higher. So that's also fun to check out if you're interested more in like how to teach kids different concepts and how to deal with certain situations. That's great. And we'll continue to, to offer that. And in parallel, always looking for any partnerships for anyone who would like to promote or sponsor or white label the boxes, or I'm even creating some school curriculum in time. And that's another subject actually that I would like to mention, is that, one of the things that frustrated me a lot is to see that it's not taught in schools, and it's such a basic life skill. Almost everything has to do with money, and we don't learn it even as adults sometimes. And so, yes, financial literacy should be taught at schools, but I also believe that parents have a big role in it, because the kids will learn it from them, whether or not they're teaching it directly to them or not. So those are the best ways to follow. And we're also on social media. You can check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's the same company, inherquest.com. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm very open and would love ideas and collaborations, and answer any questions.
Terrific. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've just met Dina Shoman, and I hope Shoman, excuse me,
Yep.
and I hope you enjoyed the interview. But before we go away and stray, I have another quote for you today, and it's by Holbrook Jackson's Maxims of Books and Readings in 1934, when he says, "The better the book, the more room for the reader." Thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon. You can find us at amfm247.com every Tuesday evening from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, on PassionateWorldTalkRadio.com under Cool Your Heels. A new website will be opening called PassionateWorldTalkRadio.com, and that should be opening December 1st, and you'll find everything there, plus a few more things that you thought you never see. You can also hear us on iTunes and iHeart, Alexa. You can see us on Facebook.com/Passionate World Radio, also Facebook.com/PWRN LLC. You can find us on Twitter and on LinkedIn and Google+. Thank you all very much for listening, and remember, please keep listening. Thank you.